Hi guys, lesson 112. We got more constructions. And today the idea is you're problem solving a little bit with using all the constructions that you've figured out basically from day one and how to apply them to create what you want today. So the first one, when it's saying construct a 30-degree angle, what we want to do is use a composition of constructions, just meaning like a combination of them to be able to do this. So the first one, what we actually are going to take advantage of is the fact that we know how to create an equilateral triangle. And an equilateral triangle has equal angles as well. So if we take 180 and divide it by 3, every angle is 60 degrees. So by constructing an equilateral triangle, we get a 60-degree angle. Then to go from 60 degrees to 30 degrees, then we would just bisect the angle. So that's the combination that we need. Now notice how there's nothing given to you. So it's a blank canvas. You have to start with giving yourself a line segment to work with. I don't want to make it humongous. So just give yourself big enough that you're going to actually be able to, draw here, but not so big that you're falling off the paper. All right. So find a happy medium. All right, I'm going to use this. I'm going to label it as AB. I'm going to use that guy as the base of my equilateral triangle. So I'm going to open my compass, the length of the segment that I just created. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to swipe an arc from either endpoint. There we go. All right, that point at the top, I'll call that guy point C. That is going to be the vertex of my equilateral triangle. Now, something to keep in mind. You can draw the full triangle, or really, to get a 60-degree angle, I don't necessarily need the whole thing. So if you want to, you can come on over here, and I'm going to kind of lightly draw and dotted that last side. I can draw the whole thing or not, but as soon as I've done the construction, this should be a 60-degree angle. So now we want to bisect that angle. So here's construction number 2. To be able to bisect an angle, the first thing you do is swipe an arc so that you create 2 points. Now, if I want, I could change my compass, or if I leave it as is, the first thing I would do is swipe an arc, and that would basically create points B and C. So I'm just going to keep going from those. Then I'm going to slide my point over to point B, swipe an arc, slide it over to point C, and swipe an arc. There we go. And then from here, if I connect from point A through that intersection right here, what I just did is I effectively bisected that angle and created 2 30-degree angles. Now, could we get a protractor out and check it? Sure. Do we have to? No, because we're basing it on it should work. Now I happen to have a protractor here, so let's double check and see how I did. So I'm going to line this on up. So this is at the bottom. Let's see if it's looking good. And I'm looking pretty good. I might be slightly closer to between 30 and 31 degrees right here. So what I want to make sure of, though, is we are not drawing an angle. We are constructing an angle. So do not, if you have one and you want to check, awesome. Otherwise, do not get out a protractor and measure an angle. I want you to construct one, all right? So same thing goes here. We are going to construct a 45-degree angle. So if we kind of take the same path that we just did, think about what would you bisect to create 45 degrees? A 90-degree angle. How can we make a 90-degree angle? 90-degree angles are synonymous with perpendicular lines. So we're going to construct perpendicular lines and then bisect the 90-degree angle to get 45. So that's my very shorthand note of how we're going to do this. I'm going to slide up just a little to give myself some space. So give yourself, again, a line segment to work with. And your best bet is put it sort of towards the middle of the space that you have to work with. If it's too far to the top, too far to the bottom, your construction marks are going to fall off the page. So somewhere in the middle is your best bet. All right, and I'm going to label it A and B again just so I can talk about it. Okay, first thing, perpendicular bisector. Plot, or put, excuse me, your pointer on one end. Make sure you're open more than halfway. And then go ahead and swipe sort of that semicircle arc. I don't ever really draw the full semicircle, but you could. All right, put the pointer at the other end at point A. Go ahead and swipe that same arc, or at least the parts that'll make the intersections. Right? From here, connect the dots. So we got top to bottom. Go ahead and connect. All right, and what we have created is now a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to call that point C so I can at least talk about it. So we have a nice 90-degree angle right here. Maybe I'll call this D up top. So if DCB is my 90-degree angle, let's bisect it so that it cuts right through here. All right, so we just did a bisector a second ago. What we need to do is take our compass and we're going to swipe an arc. Excuse me, because I changed my compass, so I got to be very careful and swipe an arc so that it hits in spots that are equidistant from point C. So for me, maybe I'll just highlight those spots even so you can see them. I'm going from this little point right here and that little point right there. From those highlighted spots, I'm now going to swipe 2 more arcs. I'm not going to change my compass. Just keep it easy. So from right here, swipe towards the center. From here, swipe towards the center. And they should intersect. Now what I want to do is I'm going to connect from C through that point right there. So taking my straight edge, lining it up, and then connecting the dots. That should have bisected my 90. So now these two are congruent, and it should be 45 and 45. So if I grab my protractor, and let's just double check and see how we did. I'm going to line it up. And I can see right there is 45 degrees. I'm like a touch off of it, but that's pretty darn good. All right. So we didn't even need a protractor. We can construct it and get it to where we need it to be. All right. So there's the first two. Moving on to page 47. Constructing a square using one of the side lengths. So the most, I would think, prominent thing about a square, well, I guess maybe 2 things, is we want equal sides and we want all 90-degree angles or right angles. So we want to take advantage of that. So what I would like to do is create the 90-degree angle at one of the endpoints because I want side AB to be a side of the square, so I can't cut that side in half. So I'm thinking let's use side B, and we're going to form a 90-degree angle there. To do that, I actually have to extend line AB. So grab your straight edge, and you're going to extend right through point B. All right. Now what we want to do, this is one of the constructions that we did yesterday, is we want to draw a line perpendicular to line AB that goes through point B. So we need B to be the midpoint. So it doesn't really matter your distance. You can pick a distance. You could even use the full distance from A to B. That would be fine too. But you're going to mark a distance to both sides of B so that you basically create a little segment where B is the midpoint. I'm now going to go to one side, and I'm going to extend my compass so I go a little greater than half, and I'm going to do a perpendicular bisector construction. So from here, I'm going to fall into the space below a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to swipe an arc from the other little mark over here. Swipe an arc. Right? So I didn't label them this time. I don't know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I can highlight them at least, right? So those are the endpoints of my little segment I created. I think I was just trying to avoid having other points labeled that aren't parts of the square, right? So when I now line it up, these 2 intersection points plus my point B should all line up with each other, hence being collinear. And now I can draw the line to come all the way down here, but what I really care about is B up to the top point. So go ahead and extend through there. All right. What we now created is a nice 90-degree angle. From here, everything is about finishing up the square. We have one side length from A to B. So let's create another side length that has that same length. So open your compass, the exact distance from A to B. Oops, let me adjust a little bit here. There we go. All right, that exact length. And then keeping my pointer on point B, come on up top and mark that same distance up top. Now, if you realize right now that you didn't extend the line far enough up, not a big deal. Grab your ruler, extend it on up. That point up here, now I want to label it. Let's call it point C. So at this point, side AB is now the same length as side BC. There's two sides of my square. I don't have to do another perpendicular construction, although I could, but it takes a lot more work. What I'm actually going to do is keep that same distance going on my compass. I'm going to come over to point A, and I'm going to swipe an arc directly above A using that same distance. And then I want you to come over to that point C that we plotted, and I want to swipe an arc directly to the left of that point. And what I should see is an intersection between those two. Label that intersection point D. That is the fourth corner of your square. So connect the dots. So from A to D, and then from C to D. So let's talk about why the heck did this work? Well, we made one corner 90 degrees, and then we made all of the sides exactly the same length. So what we created was a rhombus, because that's all sides the same. But once we forced one angle to be a right angle, then all the other angles kind of had to follow suit. So we're going to talk later in the year about a whole quadrilaterals unit. But one of the properties is that, opposite angles are the same. And then these consecutive angles are supplementary. Ooh, lots of vocab. All right. So there is our square where AB was one of the side lengths. Whew. All right. This next construction, I think, is one of the most fun ones to do, and that is a regular hexagon. So what the heck does that mean? Regular means all the sides are the same length. Hexagon means 6 sides. So we're going to have 6 equal sides here. That is our goal for this next construction. All right. Side AB is one of them. So I'm going to slide up just a touch so you can see my side AB. And I'm going to give it nice defined endpoints there. All right. You are going to take your compass and you're going to open it from A to B. And then you are not going to mess with it. Right? So the first thing we're going to do is construct an equilateral triangle. So you know how to do that. Put the pointer on point B. Swipe towards the top center from A, top center. And then I want you to plot a point here. What you've just done is you've found the center of the entire hexagon. So if you can kind of visualize what a hexagon looks like, that's going to be the center point of it. Now, if you'd like, can I actually draw in the equilateral triangle? Sure. I'm going to kind of do mine with dotted lines because it's not the focus. This is not going to be part of the side of the hexagon. It's just going to be part of my equilateral triangle at the moment. Right? What we are now going to do is construct a whole bunch of equilateral triangles. So we're going to base them off of, let me call this point C, which works nicely for center. You're now going to construct an equilateral triangle off of side AC, and then you're going to do it again off of side BC. So you might even want to turn your paper a little, and that's okay. Come over here and do it again. So don't change your compass. You're going to swipe an arc up top, and then you're going to swipe from point A and arc over here. Go ahead and plot a point there. And now you are going to connect from A to that point, making a nice solid line. And now from that point to C, I really can keep it dotted because it's going to be in the interior of my diagram. If you do draw it solid, it's perfectly fine. All right. Now let's see if we can repeat that off of side BC. So put your pointer on point B, swipe and arc, put your pointer on point C, swipe and arc. Ooh, I barely made that intersection. There we go. All right, this point is going to be part of the edge of my hexagon. So connect the nice solid line from B to that point. Right. And then if you'd like, you can just draw a dotted line from that center point C out to here. So at this point, what you can start to see, you've got half of the hexagon. And so we are going to keep going. Right? So I can get some points here. It doesn't really matter. We can go D. We can call this E over here. So now from C to D, you're going to construct another equilateral triangle. So from here, coming up top. And so what you're seeing at the top of my page, that's a little bit of that last construction. You kind of have to ignore that a little bit. All right. So here, let's call that F. So no, my points are not going to go in alphabetical order, but that is okay. All right, so plot that, right? And then I can kind of connect the dots very lightly here. And so I can continue to just do equilateral triangles one at a time. Or what you might start to notice, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so that you guys can see more of this all at once. There we go. Is if I put my pointer on point C and I start at B and work my way around, see how some of the arcs kind of get swept right into this big old circle if I go all the way around. So you have to be really, really steady so that your pencil doesn't jump. But you can see how it joined that arc mark right there and it kept going. So what you end up doing is all the points you're plotting end up being on this circle where C is the center point and the length of the radius is the length of AB right there. So the reason I point this out is what I can do is from B to A is that little length. From A to E, same length. And now if I go from E and swipe up here, that right there is going to be my last point. Sorry, I was a little off the screen there. The last point on my hexagon. And then if you want to double check from here to F, should match. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from E to that point. I guess I should A, B, C, D, E, F. Let's call it G. What the heck? All right, so from E to G, and then finally from G back to F. All right, step back and look at your work and see how it's looking. So what I should have is this entire outside. This is my hexagon, which is made up of a bunch of little equilateral triangles. So I just never finished the last one, but if you'd like to, go for it. So we'll practice that one again when we're together, and I'll show you that you can kind of start it with that circle trick and save yourself a little bit of time. The last page is just saying construct a line parallel to AB using that rhombus idea. So here's just a chance to see it one more time. So let's do this one more time together. You're going to start at an angle and draw a line that goes from P through line AB down here. Right. From the point that you just plotted, open it from that point to point P. And then once you set that distance, you are not going to change it. Right? So I'm going to swipe my arc. And I'll call this point where it crosses, I'll call that point C because that hasn't been used yet. Now, from C, same distance on my compass, swipe an arc. From point P, swipe an arc. All right, that last point, that top right corner, I'm going to call that D. And then I can connect from P through D, and it should be parallel to line AB at the bottom. And we're just using a visual check here. So when we look at it, what we should land at, and if you have your highlighter, it's nice to highlight it, is that line PD is now parallel to line AB. That's what that final result should be. The one at the bottom says construct a line parallel to the given line that passes through point B. So same thing, you can practice it one more time. I'm going to skip that guy for now. And then the remaining couple of pages that fall into this notes are practice. We're going to save these for the start of class tomorrow. So from here on out, we'll save this for our recap for class tomorrow. So it's constructing a 30, constructing a 45, constructing a square. You got a hexagon, parallel line, perpendicular line, median, and altitude. So it's basically going to cover all of those constructions I'd like to do together in person. If I'm not going to see you in person tomorrow, then sure, maybe you want to work on them now. But otherwise, you can hold on to those for class time. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.